right, let's take the football discussion over to Europe now, as 4 of the 8 remaining teams for the round of 16 confirmed their spots after the second leg of the playoffs concluded moments ago. Bayern Munich and Celtic faced off at the Allianz Arena in Germany, with the home team looking to hold on to a narrow 2-1 aggregate advantage against the exuberant Scottish outfit. We have the highlights.
It will be Bayern Munich to get the game started. In southern Germany. Stanisic keeps it away from Maeda, but he might be first to that. He is. Just enabled. Oh, it's still a chance. Must be. And this time, Celtic take their chance. Nicholas Kuhn levels the tie. And that is for him. The German scores in Germany.
Well, I mentioned about that right side where Stanisic is operating. Not been convinced by him tonight at all, and there's so many poor challenges.
Celtic hearts will be beating now. Excitement levels off the scale. Coman! He got hold of all of that. And Schmeichel saw all of it too. Kimmich. Zane. Trying to poke it across. Nobody there to poke it over the line.
Lucky, it's not a bad idea, that.
Elise looks as though he wants it first. Straight into the top of the wall. Kimmich has a crack, big deflection. Huge 2 hands from Kasper Schmeichel. 1 minute left. Elise to Sane. Sane gets a bit of room. Schlups on him. Hatate too. Elise, it's a beauty! It's a wonderful save! Oh. But it's gone in! Carter Vickers was trying to clear, and all he could do was touch the ball onto Alphonso Davies.
Well, we must credit Alphonso Davies for just being in the right place at the right time. Sane almost catches it under his feet, eventually finds its way back to Elise. They just don't get close enough, Celtic, to tie him down. And the header, when it comes in there, I think it's from Goretzka.
Muller on for the last few seconds. He's replaced Musiala. Celtic have got to throw everything at Bayern Munich now. No time for it. Well, what a night of drama in Bavaria. Settled at the last, and I mean the last.
All right, well, perfect time to bring in our correspondent, Juan Giarango, in the conversation. Good afternoon, Juan. So good to be able to chat with you again. This is becoming a regular thing.
It's a good thing, I guess. You make it sound like it's not. Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, happy to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Again, seeing what happened over at Allianz Park, you end up seeing that, you know, it was as expected. I mean, Celtic was going to come out. Celtic was going to continue with the momentum. Celtic was going to try and do their best. They did until the very last. Now, my biggest question, and maybe that's a question for Lance as well. Why didn't Thomas Muller become more involved in the game? That, to me, was the biggest question mark of all.
Yeah, maybe that's a question for coach.
Well, yeah.
Clearly,
Lance is the one that gets paid the big bucks, though. So let's start with him.
Now, I'm just saying that in many people's eyes, Muller's best years are behind him. Mm-hmm. But he continues to show that even in his advancing years, he still is a very influential player for Bayern. And quite frankly, from an international standpoint, I don't have much time for him for Germany anymore. But I recognize that for Bayern Munich, he still has some worth. But you did suggest yesterday when we were previewing the game, Juan, that Celtic are a pretty dangerous team that could push Bayern Munich, and that's exactly what they did. So you're continuing to show your proficiency at predictions.
I try. And I got to give thanks to my agent there in the middle. She kind of gets the percentage of it as well. So, no, but seriously speaking, though, it was something that was expected based on what we saw at Celtic Park and at Allianz Arena. It was going to continue. you've seen a lot of question marks, and today you saw a lot of question marks from that Bayern defense, especially with the Celtic goal in the 66, 67, 68th minute of play. So that ends up being a big question mark. And things, you saw the crowd in the second half become a little bit more somber when Harry Kane was no longer on the pitch. And when Harry Kane is no longer in there for Bayern, you no longer have a number 9 reference. And I think that was part of the problem that Bayern were having in terms of not creating, but being able to get that last touch there towards the end. And I think that was the biggest problem that Bayern showed in these 90 minutes.
Yeah, but that one really went right down to the wire. And great on the Canadian, yes. Alphonso Davies, Juan, for getting the goal. Just a couple of weeks ago, he signed a new deal for Bayern to keep him there until 2030, I believe. And he was right there at the far post to just stab that one in, because this was some good work here by Sane. Couldn't go where he wanted, so he had to take the ball back out to the top of the box.
Yeah, and Sane was offensively probably the best player for Bayern. And if it weren't for Alphonso Davies, we would probably be still watching the match, who knows at what point, and we'd be saying, all types of plaudits in the way of Kasper Schmeichel, who had a tremendous match. I mean, if it weren't for him, maybe the tide would have been much more significant in the favor of Bayern Munich, because as much as Bayern tried, the opportunities that they did come up with that were concise, Kasper Schmeichel completely and utterly slammed the door on them.
Yeah, Schmeichel had a really big game. But sometimes people always talk about people who have a taste for goal, and they just know where to be at the right times, because Alphonso Davies was perfectly positioned to just bundle the ball in. It wasn't really a clear shot on goal. It almost deflected off him because he was trying to block the clearance. But the fact is, or the good thing for Bayern Munich, is that he was there.
Yeah, he was there, and well, it was the being at the right place at the right time and not making the right decision at the wrong time, if you want to look at it from a Cameron Carter-Vickers standpoint, because he was in front of that ball and he gets beat by Alphonso Davies, and that ball just caroms off of the Canadian.
Yeah, for sure. And Juan, I just want to go back to the discussion that I started before Lance joined in. The one about Celtic, of course, being able to hold their heads up high after even having to exit the Champions League at this stage, because of the fight and the grit that we saw from the team. And there was the captain, Callum McGregor, was asked about it, and he said, this is probably one of the most cruel results that he's had to endure in a Celtic shirt, based on how he and his team went about this Champions League season.
No, I agree. I mean, how much more cruel can it be than to concede a goal in the 94th minute, in the final seconds, basically one of the last touches of the match, and give them credit because they played well. They could have had a second. They could have ended this match before. And all you can do is really tip your hat to Celtic and what they've been able to do in this tournament and in this tie. But again, Bayern ended up getting the lucky bounce in both the literal and figurative sense as far as this match was concerned.
Yeah,
that's just the way football is.
Yeah, definitely. You said lucky, and I have to ask you, do you think Bayern Munich will be serious contenders for this Champions League trophy?
Bayern just being Bayern end up being a name that you are going to rattle off the top of your, the top of your head, the tip of your tongue. They are always going to be that. Although this version of Bayern leaves you with a lot of question marks as the tournament gets deeper, if they end up getting deeper into the tournament after the next round. Can they compete against the Real Madrids, against the Barcelonas, against, well, I'll even add it if City go through. Those types of squads, Liverpool, obviously. Are they able to surpass those types of teams who you have to be able to at least pummel them in order to put, or submit them in order to beat them in a two-legged tie? So for me, the question is that, you saw a lot of problems today. You saw a lot of deficiencies today. But then you also see the eventual virtues and the individual sets of brilliances that this team does have.
Yeah, for sure. And then, in the other results, we saw AC Milan and Feyenoord picking up a draw. AC Milan, as a result, knocked out of the Champions League after that draw. Were you impressed? Not so impressed? What say you?
Well, disappointed, I guess, because I was expecting more from Milan. Yeah, they came out of the gates 37 seconds, and Santi Jimenez scores against his old team. But after that, you didn't see too much. And maybe a lot of stuff is boiling over because after the match, Sergio Conceição and Zvonimir Boban both ended up kind of jawing at each other, saying, hey, you know, you could have done better. Why didn't this player do better? And Sergio Conceição said, look, I'm the one that makes the choices here. If you don't like it, I can leave. So you end up seeing that type of thing start to boil over at Milan because of the inconsistencies we've seen in certain moments in recent times.
Yeah, they've continued to struggle. And you speak about tempers flaring after the match. What about during the match? 2 red cards, and of course it's going to affect Feyenoord more, who progress.
Well, yeah, it does affect Feyenoord, but also the way Theo Hernandez ends up getting sent off with the 2 yellow cards in a very undisciplined manner. That was one of the criticisms that Sergio Conceição had. You know, one of the players that was pointed out and called out when it was time for Boban to kind of say, hey, why didn't you sub him? Why didn't you change this? Why didn't you change that? And basically that's when things started boiling over.
Yeah, and in the other result, we have to just, you know, mention all of these. Club Brugge advancing because they were able to dump Europa League champions Atalanta over the 2 legs. What did you make of that one?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. I mean, from an Atalanta standpoint, because you see a team, as you mentioned, winning in Europe for the first time ever last year, having a very good season in Serie A, and all of a sudden this happens in Champions League. It just seems like the wheels just came off at the wrong time for them. And again, I mean, it's not denigrating and it's not minimizing what Club Brugge have been able to do, because they too have been a very solid side in this competition, but no one expected this result. People are saying, well, okay, fine, they lost in the first leg. That can happen away from home. But a team like Atalanta coming back home and just off the outside, we're losing already 3-0. That goal kind of towards the end kind of ends up adding a little makeup to the result. But it was a very, very disappointing end for Atalanta, to be quite honest with you. Especially they started champions.
Yeah, very disappointing indeed one. Well, your visit on the SportsMax Zone, we enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and we'll chat again really soon.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Yeah, Juan J. Rango there, our football correspondent. Well, let's take a look now at what's coming up on the channel. We have more Champions League action tomorrow. Yeah, this is for tomorrow, as I said, Wednesday's fixtures. Dortmund versus Sporting. You can see that lead over there. Paris Saint-Germain will be playing Brest. The PSV Eindhoven up against Juventus. Real Madrid versus Manchester City. My eyes will be glued to that fixture. And you two viewers, I know you won't want to miss it. We're going to take a quick break and we're coming right back.